if you're a new agent to Medicare, it can be really confusing. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of regulations that holds a lot of new agents back. Originally, I was going to put this video out just for my team, but wanted to make sure that everyone out there has an opportunity to watch it so that they can get a really good idea of how simple it can be and how also to stay compliant. So if you get some value from the video, like, comment, subscribe. Also, share it with someone if you feel that they may be able to benefit from this video as well. So to give you a little background on this methodology, it was created in call centers where I was originally trained, and the goal was to make sure that the client would get a plan that's a really good fit for them, not just sell them a plan that they saw on TV. The reason that's important is because a lot of times what the carriers will do is they will advertise a plan that seems really great, over-the-counter benefits where they can go to the store and use their card, fitness benefits, they can get a gym for free, give backs where it takes a little bit off of their Part B premiums. But what ends up happening is sometimes the network will be really small. Sometimes their out-of-pocket maximum will be really high. Sometimes their co-pays, deductibles will be really high. So what can happen is they're in a worse plan, but they don't realize it because they have these extra benefits. But if you go through the way that I'm going to go through it with you, you won't have that problem whatsoever. So what we're going to do is I created a short guide to help you through the process, and we're going to walk through that, and it'll also be in the description below. So let's take a quick look at this first. All right, so there's a few things that you need to do before you start the appointment. And the first thing is going to be get ready to sell. So you need to make sure that you have all the correct licenses in the correct states. You have to make sure that you have your AHIP done, and you also have to make sure that you certify with all of the carriers too. The next thing that you're going to need to do is make sure that you're getting your scope of appointment 48 hours before you talk to your client. Of course, if this is within the last couple of days of open enrollment or annual election period, open enrollment, whatever you choose to call it, then you don't have to do that. And all the calls, if you're doing it over the phones, because this is what this is geared towards, need to be recorded, and you need to retain those for 10 years. And then you also want to make sure that you have the carrier proof summary of benefits and the enrollment checklist. And most of those things you're going to have on the carrier website directly. All right, so the first thing that you have to do now is go through the TPMO disclaimer. Now, basically all that is you just letting them know that you are going to be helping them, but you don't have access to every single plan. So here where it says currently we represent 8 organizations, it'll be however many you have. And then you have this many number of plans in your area, and then they can call 1-800-Medicare. Now, if you're using Medicare HealthSherpa, the only thing you have to do is, I'll bring this up here, is click on this TPMO script. And it's going to tell you how many organizations, how many products are in the area. And you'll want to do that at the very beginning of every call. Now, the way that I do that typically is I will just let them know, hey, there's just a quick disclaimer that I need to read to you just so I can stay compliant. I read it, and then I just go into, okay, great, now we got that out of the way. Let's see if we can find a plan that's a good fit for you. All right, so you also want to let them know you're an independent agent, you're state licensed, you're not Medicare or the government. That keeps you out of trouble so that they don't think that they're talking to a government official. And then you also want to kind of set the agenda. So the way that I do that is I say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at your doctors, your prescriptions, and then we're going to find a plan that's a good fit and make sure that all of your doctors and prescriptions are going to be covered in network. Sound good? Good. Okay. All right, so the first thing that you need to do before you get started, and this is just so that you don't waste your time, is get their Medicare number and their Part A and Part B effective dates, as well as their zip code. The reason you want to make sure that you get the Medicare number up front is because sometimes what can happen is you can go through everything, it's a great plan, and then at the end they don't have their Medicare card, and so you have to start all over again. You don't want to do that. So make sure you find that out first. You want to confirm their election period. Right now, while I'm doing this recording, it's AEP. So everybody is fair game at that point. But there are special election periods after December 7th that you can use if they move, or there's a few other reasons, or maybe they're aging in. And then you also want to check to see if they have Medicare and Medicaid, because those are going to be different plans if they have Medicare and Medicaid. Also, you want to find out if they have any of the chronic conditions as well, because then they can get additional benefits through the CSNP plans. All right, so now you need to go through the needs assessment. This is the reason why you have a job. So the first thing that you need to do is find out their doctors, see if there's any specialists, if they have preferred hospitals, and then also get all of their prescriptions. And you're going to want to get their name, the dose, the quantity, and how often they take it. You're going to plug all that in, and then it's going to give you a list, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. And then you also want to discuss their budget. If they're looking for a plan that is no cost, right now we're just looking at Medicare Advantage plans. But if you're going to look at Medicare supplements as well, the way that you ask that question is, do you want a plan where you pay more monthly, but it covers pretty much everything? Or do you want something that's closer to what you're used to, where you have your co-pays, your deductibles, your co-insurance, things like that, but you pay less per month? And they'll usually pick one or the other, and they'll understand one's a supplement or one's a Medicare Advantage plan, or they'll just let you know which one they want. If they're already on a Medicare Advantage, typically it's going to be a Medicare Advantage plan. So once you do that, you'll want to review the plan. So the doctors that are in network, the prescriptions, their out-of-pocket maximum, their medical deductible, drug deductible, PCP specialist, ER inpatient copays, those types of things. Now, at this point, it says avoid steering, but you can steer if you're a licensed agent. You can nudge them one way or the other. But you can't use superlatives. And what I mean by that is you can't say, hey, you should go with this plan because it's the best plan for you. You can't say that. You can say it's a good fit, though. And that's what I typically use across the board is it's a good fit. This is a really good fit for you. Keeps you out of trouble. Just pick one word that you're going to say for a good plan and stick with it. But a good fit is the best way to go on that one. All right. So the next thing is when you go through, if you really want to stay compliant, the easiest way to do that is to pull up the summary of benefits and go through these particular points, point by point by point. So the premium and the deductibles, the maximum out of pocket costs, the drug coverage and tiers, whether it's an HMO, PPO, PFFS, HMO, POS, EPO, you're going to want to go through those. And then you'll go through the ancillary benefits like dental, vision, hearing, OTC, or over the counter. That's what that means. Transportation, fitness, the star ratings, how the plan affects current coverage, things like that. Now, one thing that you can also ask at this point as you're going through this is, besides your doctor's office and prescriptions, is there anything else that you really want included in your plan? And let them know. These are the most important things, is making sure these costs are low if something happens to you. But to help narrow it down even more, what are some things that are important to you? Usually they'll say dental and vision, or over-the-counter benefits, or the Part B give back, something to that effect. Sometimes it's fitness there, or transportation. There's a few different things, but they'll say that, and then you'll want to start looking for those things in the plans. All right. Then this part here, the confirm understanding part, this is usually in the script. But the main point is when you get to this point, enroll, what you're going to do is make sure that you read everything line by line, especially if you're brand new. Now, once you've been doing it for a while, there are certain parts that you can skip if they do not relate to what you're doing. Like if it says for PFFS plans only, you can skip that part. That's common sense. But for the most part, what you're going to want to do is just read those line by line. If you do that, you'll be in the clear. You won't have to worry about them trying to fine you or dealing with the Department of Insurance, because that's the last thing that you want. That's what most people are afraid of. And the easiest way to avoid that is just by following these simple steps. Now, afterwards, you want to make sure that you have your scope of appointment, your call recording, your plan quotes in comparison, everything that you went over with them. You want to make sure that's saved, as well as any notes in a CRM or something like that, just so that if they come back and they ask you about the plan again, you're covered. Or if there's an issue down the road and they forgot you told them something, and now the Department of Insurance is asking about it, you can just provide the recording and let them see for themselves that you went over everything as you were supposed to. Now, prohibited actions. This is going to be the part that is going to be the most important, in my opinion, to watch out for. The first is going to be no cross-selling non-health products during the MA PDP appointments. In general, I would not offer anything else outside of what is on that scope of appointment. Don't talk about life. Don't talk about annuities. Now, if you have a script or something where you get information, you can say this, hey, we can talk about that later and set up another appointment for that. But today we need to just stick with the Medicare information that we're going to go over. No unsolicited contact, door-to-door visits. You can't do that. Gifts over $15. You can't do that. You can't mislead the material or use Medicare logos without permission. You also can't say that the plan is best or guaranteed. You don't want to do any of those things because that will get you in trouble. And the last thing you want to do is be in trouble for saying something that you shouldn't have. All right. So what we're going to do for this next part is we're going to actually jump into Medicare HealthSherpa. That's the system that I use. If you use Integrity or one of the other ones, that's completely fine. But we're just going to take a quick look on how you actually apply this. So in this, we're using 85042. We say the TPMO script per CMS guidelines. Currently, we represent 8 organizations which offer 67 products in your area. Please contact Medicare.gov, 1-800-Medicare, or your local state health insurance program to get information on all of your options. Simple, quick, easy, got it out of the way. The next thing that you're going to want to do, and this is what I do, is when you set this up, you set up which carriers you're appointed with, because you don't want to quote a plan that you're not appointed with the carrier, is I just select my appointed carriers. I represent pretty much everyone here. And then from there, you can either start with the drugs or the providers. I always start with the providers first. This one is just one that one of my clients had, and so I like to use him because it's easy. And we're going to select him as a PCP. Let me make this bigger for you guys. And we're done. Oh, wait, hold on. Forgot to save it. Okay. Now we're done. All right, so then the next thing we're going to want to do is add the drugs in. So we're going to do, and normally you would put the dosage and how many times they take it. So I was trained originally how many times per day, but what I've learned with Medicare HealthSherpa is it's better just to put 30 if they take one per day, so that when it auto populates, it puts 30 for the month instead of 1 for the month. It's just a little quirk that I found out. But right now I'm just going to let it decide what the dose or what the dosage and the frequency is. So we'll do oxycodone, we'll do atorvastatin, and metoprolol. And one of the best practices too is when they're going through these medications, if you haven't been doing this for a while, just have them spell it out for you. So we'll click add drugs. We'll just go ahead and save, and you just verify these with them because sometimes it does get it wrong. Okay. So now we'll let it do its thing. And so now we can see what each plan covers and what the cost is of each plan, because it gives you a total estimate. And so sometimes you'll see things like, oh, well, my husband has this, or my wife has this or that. And they'll want a plan that is just not a good fit for them. Like, for instance, you have a total estimate here, but it's for a PPO, and they may say something like, I really want a PPO. Well, you can explain to them how a PPO works. You do have in and out of network coverage, but the out-of-pocket maximums are typically higher. Do you go out of network a lot, or do you normally stay with the doctors that you currently use? If they say that, then you'll bring out the point that an HMO plan is usually going to save them money on a visit basis, and if something major were to happen, and as well as a month-to-month basis. So the other thing here that I have selected is non-SMP, non-special needs plan, because they're not going to need a special needs plan in this particular case. And you don't want to mistakenly quote a C-SNP or a D-SNP plan. All right, so what we'd be looking at is the WellCare Simply HMO plan. And the way that I normally do it, and when I'm normally explaining things, is first I'll talk about what's already here. So, all right, so what I'm seeing here, Miss Smith, is that your drugs are covered, all of them, and your provider is covered as well. And your max out of pocket is only going to be $2,500. Your medical deductible is zero. And even though there's a $615 drug deductible, your actual drug costs are going to be $0 because of the plans that you've chosen. Now, once you get into the benefits here, you can click the summary of benefits and go that way. But this gives you a very brief breakdown of everything here. What the preferreds are, what the generics are, and you'll need to go through all of these, and they're in the summary of benefits as well. I'm just not going to pull that up right now. But this is a good way to look for those things. Now, if they're saying that they also want hearing and vision and things like that, they'll have them here. But one thing that you'll definitely want to do, and this is going to be important, and let me blow this up for you, is especially when it comes to the dental and vision, a lot of times it's not going to tell you how much it actually pays. And so what you'll need to do is just go up to the summary of benefits here. And this is the gold standard of actually going over their benefits with them, is going to be the summary of benefits. And I was actually going to skip this because it takes a second to load. But you'll go into dental. And then it'll talk about the different things here. And then you see that it covers up to $3,000 per plan year. So that's going to be important because different ones cover different amounts. But if you ever want to get into detail, that's what you're going to do, is click the summary of benefits there. Now, real quick, before we finish up here, we're just going to take a quick look at this. So this is going to give you a quick glimpse at what each plan covers. So this does over-the-counter $50 a month, which isn't bad. That ends up being $150 a quarter. A lot of them are used to seeing it per quarter rather than per month. It also includes the dental, vision, hearing, fitness, telehealth, and transport. So this is a really great plan in Phoenix. The reason why, actually in a few different cases, that we didn't go this route was because of the providers. So no matter how good the plan is, it doesn't matter if their providers and their prescriptions are out of network, and you don't want to try to convince them to switch their doctors, because a lot of them have been with those doctors for a long time. A lot of them have a lot of issues. But if there's someone, they're in great health, they don't take any prescriptions, they don't take any, or they don't see any doctors, or they're not really, like, let's say they just do one checkup every year, then this would be a great plan for them. And as you see, there's other plans that are decent as well. But as you start to scroll down, the plans get worse and worse. You just don't want to always necessarily quote the top plan without looking at the others first. Some of them also have had bad experiences with carriers, and so you want to just avoid those. Instead of telling them something like this, well, just take a chance with them again. They're much better. Don't try to ever convince them of anything. The reason why is because that'll lead to a complaint to Medicare. Just accept what they're telling you. Now, going back to what I was saying before about, for instance, PPO. Let's say they want a PPO plan and it's not a good fit for them. You can tell them, well, Mr. or Mrs. Smith, if you go with this plan, you will be able to go in and out of network, but it's going to be a lot more expensive if you have to go to the hospital, if you have to go in for your copay. So you do have a monthly premium on this plan. And if you decide to go with the HMO, all of your doctors are going to be covered. They're going to refer you to doctors that are in network, and it's going to save you a ton of money. Which would you prefer? And then they can pick from there. You've already informed them. And then you can make sure that you're covered and that you did try to get them the best service possible. All right, so that's all there is to it. Not terribly complicated, right? If you do have any questions, feel free to drop a comment or schedule a one-on-one time if you want to talk a little bit more. I am open to help anybody answer any questions that anyone has, because at the end of the day, the more people that we help, the better off we all are, right? Have a great rest of your day, and talk to you soon.